in 3, in 2, and in 1. But oh boy, we are here because we have transcoders. And we are here in beautiful internet fidelity as well, because Drew has better internet now, but a bit worse lighting. But, it's a listening experience anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the light is literally just above my head, and there's like fuck all I can do about it. Also, you can see like the horrible damage that's happened to my skin, which is just
damn, what happened?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it might be like lack of sunlight, or maybe too much spicy noodles and things. I've been like, why are you revealing it even worse?
I just moved the camera so I can look down on you, like there. I'm coming from the light source. I am the light, one might say. But yeah, I mean, like, it might also be the weather. Like, I have, like, my hands these days, when it gets colder and such, like, they really start to have, like, bad skin. Like, it starts to hurt, and you get, like, these spots of, like, really dry skin, and it's, like, horrible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, that's what you get with winter weather. That being said, today we have a couple of topics that we're going to go over. Let me go and take a look at the topic sheet right here. We have we're reverting back sort of thing. We're doing a clash of the old and a clash of the new, where we do one of our topics is kind of like one of the earlier things that we talked about in the FrameCast. We do a Warframe question again. What does Warframe Deimos Arcana update mean for the game's community and future? Warframe released an update a couple of weeks ago. I managed to take a look at it last week, and some things have happened around it, and I think it's an interesting thing to talk about. And then we also have another topic, which is a regular topic from every single FrameCast sort of thing. We have Alexa devices turning to an opt-out public mesh Wi-Fi network, which is an interesting story. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that after Warframe. And after what games we have played recently. What have you been playing, Drew? What have you been up to this week? More World of Warcraft, more Raft, or are you testing our friendship again?
No. More World of Warcraft, more Raft, more Xeno Alice, eagerly awaiting Cyberpunk 2077. What else is there? I don't think I've been playing much else recently. I've been very busy, obviously, traveling to visit my family and things, to get such an amazing, brilliant internet. The biggest problem is it took like an entire day to do that. So, I mean, It is what it is. But yeah, basically World of Warcraft, things like that.
Nice. I have, what have I been playing? I mean, probably a bit of Genshin Impact. That event kind of ended. Other than that, not a lot, actually. Like, yesterday, I had no idea what to play yesterday, and then, like, we just did an entire stream where I just sat and talked to people. And it was like, there was no gameplay, and it was, like, the weirdest experience ever, because I remember when I started as, like, a streamer, it was like, how can you, like, do a stream when you just, like, don't have any gameplay on, when you're not giving out, like, prime parts and not giving out things, and, like, how can you entertain people like that? And now it was just, like, it was kind of just like the FrameCast, where we just, like, sat down and chatted for, like, 2 hours. That blew by. But other than that, yeah, eagerly awaiting Cyberpunk. Like, there was many things. Like, I could still go back to Destiny 2. I could still go back to, like, the new things on Warframe. I could go back to Genshin, continue on with that. I could finish off Fallout New Vegas, which I was still playing. There's, like, a bunch of things. But, like, nothing which is, like, super, like, in the front row right now. And, like, I'm really hoping that, like, Cyberpunk can fill that void soon, because we've been waiting for it so long. Who knows? We might have to wait for it longer.
No, you better bloody get it, like, soon, TM, because if we don't get it this month, I think they're going to be literal riots. I mean, actually, when it was a few weeks ago, I saw this image that was in the yellow background, font, black font stuff, all the CD Projekt Red logos and everything all over the place, and it basically said that Cyberpunk 2077 was going to get delayed indefinitely, and I was like, my jaw hit the floor, my heart sank, and I genuinely thought, oh my god, because it was talking about years, and then I was gonna retweet it saying like, I can't believe this, and then all of a sudden just disappeared off Twitter, and I think it was realized that it was a fake. I'm like,
Oh.
I didn't look at it for nearly long enough to realize that it was a fake. So
I remember coming across this meme right here. Let me pull this up. Actually, hold on. I didn't set up the camera properly for you to see, but it's basically like it's a tweet by Cyberpunk 2077. It's photoshopped, and it just says, "I'll be honest with you guys. There was never a Cyberpunk game. We just wanted to hang out with Keanu Reeves." And I'm like, well, I wouldn't be surprised, but no, like that, I like December 10th. Once that day passes, we will know for sure, and we'll finally have it, or we'll be freaking out again. But I think like this time we do have some degree of certainty that it will come around to be Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I mean, like, as Nazar says, like, who doesn't want to hang out with Keanu Reeves?
Mm-hmm. Who doesn't? Yeah. I know. I mean, like, I can totally understand just like making an entire like pilot for a game for it and just like selling that for years so you can finally get in touch with Keanu, and it's like, all right, well, I didn't expect to get here. What do we do now? Well, just delay it. Just delay the thing. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll forget about it.
It was actually quite interesting because the premise for Cyberpunk 2077, that was initially revealed. God, it was freaking forever ago. I want to say it was like 2013 or something. Do Cyberpunk teaser trailer or something like this, and it's sort of like a static shot of like the original design of V. You'll probably have seen the statue in Yong Ye's videos where V is sort of like kneeling on the floor and has the praying mantis arms sticking out.
Okay, so it was January 10th, 2013, Cyberpunk 2077 teaser trailer.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a long tease. That is a long tease indeed. But yeah, let's take a look into, we've already gone over this topic, so let's go into community comeback, also known as the YouTube comments. We had one comment last week from Ephime. Of course, this is a really recent, like, quick FrameCast, quick on top of each other. We had, like, the last one, we did on Thursday or something, or Friday last week, and, like, I uploaded
No, we did it Thursday.
Thursday, and, like, I uploaded on Saturday because things got in between. So we're very fast, we're very quick to be back on it again, but I mean, like, hey, more FrameCast. So yeah, let's go take a look. Ephime had a couple of things. First of all, on the idea of the last topics, as like the FrameCast would be the last remaining podcast together with 10 o'clock because they're the best podcasts and everyone else just copies us. Let's see. Ephime said, in this FrameCast, there has been some themes surrounding the idea of an end, like an apocalypse, like the last ever root beer. Oh my God, it has been true. I almost forgot about that. How has life been without root beer?
Wrong.
I thought so indeed. We should perform a miracle on the FrameCast at some point and maybe see if we can bring it back, but I don't know if that's possible. Do you think that would be possible?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, I'll just have to order more, and But the thing is, like, I'm down in Wales right now, and I'm trying to wean off the sheer volume of soft drinks I have. He says. Dude, I've been awake since 6:30 this morning. My sleep has been utterly destroyed. If I don't drink this, I'm not going to survive this. The next God knows how long we've got.
Hey! I'm not blaming you. I'm not telling you to not take it. I should probably just like send you like a flare sort of thing, like the thing you can light up a beacon, and you can just throw it out, and like once you light that and it lights up, we'll have like an air support like plane fly by and just drop you a crate of root beer. And just like that will just be your emergency support. In case you need it, in case you have problems, we'll just go by and get it. So you can survive.
I can just envision, like, neighbors are like, what the hell? So why is he throwing a road flare out in the middle of the road? and like all of a sudden this giant crate of root beer just hits the floor, and just like,
It will all
life's
make
necessities.
sense. It will all make sense. So yeah, every other podcast will end because the FrameCast, etc. Thus, I must indulge in a question into the Dyer's Doodles that's the late no end. Could there ever be a last topic, a final list of ideas or occurrences to discuss? So, could there ever be a topic which will be just like the last topic and then we're done discussing, sort of thing? Like there's nothing to be discussed anymore.
Only. I think that topic would be where did it all go wrong, followed by a nuclear holocaust.
Probably.
I mean,
or
it,
or potentially like when we would get all these chips in our brain, sort of thing, that we don't even need to communicate, that we can just like read our minds, sort of thing, that what Elon Musk wants to go for, so that we don't need to discuss anything because we already know what the other person is thinking. And then like the last topic we just discussed,
Elon Musk wants to create the Borg,
sort of thing. Yeah, like he was talking about that Neuralink thing. I think on like the Joe Rogan podcast, where he was saying like, well, like in 5 to 10 years time, we may not even communicate through token anymore because of like the Neuralink thing.
Oh, wow! This guy is like so anti artificial intelligence. Yeah, he's happy to shove a chip in his brain.
Yeah. I mean, like if that's what he wants to do, I'm not stopping him. But in that case, I think the last topic that will probably be discussed is like, is this thing working? Followed by like just complete assimilation. And then that will be the last ever topic.
We just go like, resistance is futile. Your technological and biological distinctiveness will be added to our own. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Until, of course, like, I mean, 2 days later, like, it will just shut down because we'll have to restart because it's going to update. So everyone will just be like, oh, what happened? What happened? Oh, man. Okay, so the next thing Ephime brought up was Michel talks about reaching out to larger creator, or rather the near impossibility about reaching out to larger creators. Could a large reason not only be, as Michel mentioned, a great deal of spam in their direct messages, but also due to the silly notion of creators using one another to get popular? What are your perspectives on creators using one another, and when is it considered that one person uses another?
I think that there's always a benefit for everyone. It's sort of like a symbiotic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, me doing this with Michel, I get the benefit of anyone that he touches base with will know who I am, and then potentially, oh, I like who that is. I like his beard. His beard is magnanimous. I will go find out who, and so on and so forth. And then there's me on the other side of the spectrum, where I am, shouting it out on Twitter or on my own YouTube stuff, and trying to bring traffic, try and bring general awareness that this actually happens, and going from there. It is difficult though, because being able to reach your entire audience base is really fucking hard.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is. I think that like, let me see how I want to, because I largely agree with like what you're saying. Like there is definitely like great benefit, especially like when we were starting the FrameCast, there was like the great benefit of like you already had 10 o'clock, and then like the FrameCast was I think largely adopted by a part of 10 o'clock's audience who were just like, back in the day we were also doing Warframe, so like that was a really great thing for this podcast starting out. And I think that like right now, as you're saying, like people that might discover the podcast here, like the podcast is very like FrameCast, very much like you and I sort of thing. So 50% of like the FrameCast is also in 10 o'clock. So like if people find this podcast and like, oh shit, I really like this, like I can't get enough of podcasts, and they're like there's 10 o'clock right there. So I think there's like a great relationship between there. Yeah. But most of this is like very organic because like for my regard, like I just enjoy the podcast and enjoy like talking with you, and I think we both started this as like I actually remember when we started this. It was like I was on like a stream or something. We were like talking about like Warframe and Arcwing sort of thing on like open worlds, and then you messaged me like, "Oh, we should like do you want to do some sort of debate show or something?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm down for it." And then like we set it up. If I remember correctly, to like do like the first FrameCast, or am I
I can't
remembering it
remember.
incorrectly?
I cannot, for the love nor money, remember where the original concept was. You know, I mean, I'm always on board for, you know, you take an original idea and, you know, expand it to be something more than what was originally there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like, regardless of how it started, I think it's for me, it's like, this is just like a fun thing to do, and I really enjoy hanging out with you. And
Yeah.
we're not pulling insane numbers. Like we're not the most watched podcast yet, even though we are the best podcast, along with 10
Clearly.
o'clock. Clearly, but
Clearly.
it's just a fun thing to do, and I enjoy hanging out with you. So it's like yeah, this is not focused on like reaching the top charge. This is not really focused on like, oh, if Drew doesn't bring in so many people from like his channel, I'm gonna replace him with someone else. Like, no, that's like this is our thing. So like it's Michel and Xeno's FrameCast. Yeah. So that being said, like there are clear cases of people like using each other in like the creative space. Let's see, what would it and when is it considered that one person uses another? I think that an example of that would be, especially when you have like when you have certain people that would look up towards fellow peers within the creative field that have maybe a larger following, decide to work together with them a lot into like making content together, attracting their audience, and in the moment that like they've caught up or gotten a little bit ahead because they've taken a bit of their audience, just never contact them again and move on to the next person. There are people that grow like that. And I know that happens because I know I've spoken with various creators. I don't know if you've spoken with these people too, Drew, but like I've had discussions with people where like some people would always post on Twitter like once every 3 months like, oh my god, I thought these people were my friends and now they left me and they ignore me. And I was like I felt compassionate, so I reached out to them. I was like, hey dude, how's it going? Like, I'm sorry to hear about that. Can you tell me a little bit more? Like, you know. And they were like, oh no dude, it's all right, you know. It's just being a creator. It's like all these people, like, we're friends. And I was like, well, what does friendship mean to you? It's like, well, friendship just means that like I use them and they use me and we both understand that. I was like, what? Are
Yeah.
you serious? Like, no. Are you serious? Like, yeah. No, entirely. It's just like, you know, we're both aware that we're using each other. And the moment that like the other person's not of use to you, then you just move on. Like, could friendship not just mean that, you know, you'll enjoy hanging out with each other? No, that'd be ridiculous. You know, it's all about, and like people literally think like that. And part of me like it's a thing which I don't like. But I'm not gonna out as entirely wrong either. Like, I think it's very morally wrong. But like I can see a certain truth to that in the sense of being of use to another. Like, let's say like I had a couple of friends who had greater channels than mine, and the moment that they had like that allowed them to do different things, especially when it came to sponsorships or when it came to opportunities. And when you want to move forward within like an industry, especially when it comes to like a numbers related industry, if you then want to move on and then want to spend a lot of time, because like a lot of these projects take a lot of time, if you want to then spend a lot of time on like further projects, which you can only do when you have certain numbers, then you probably have to move on and like will have less contact with each other. So that doesn't mean that like that defines friendships, because like you like it's a job sort of thing. You can also hang out with each other outside of a job. But yeah, I mean, like it's something which happens. Sometimes happens on like a greater scale or like a more significant thing. Like, I was so surprised when this guy just said like, yeah, I mean, we just use each other and like we just know, and that's friendship. I was like, what the fuck, dude? What's going on?
No,
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I think that there are plenty of people out there that when it comes to content creation, they put the content creation ahead of everything else, and then they're not really friends or anything. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because typically relationships like that, they last for such a little like span of time that after you're done writhing in frustration for, you know, a hot moment, you know, you don't care about that person anymore. You don't you don't give them a second thought, and you move on.
Mhm.
You foster the friendships that actually do exist. And don't get me wrong, but like, some of my friends, some of my content creator friends, I really care about, I barely speak to. And more often than not, it's always like I initiated the conversation. It's never the other way around. And I imagine that is typically because, I do things like the Arbiters series, where there's a lot of communication, backwards and forwards and stuff, where I do actually have a lot of collaboration with a lot of people. But with their stuff, like if this is their main career, they have to worry about, when's the next check coming in and things like that. So I can very much appreciate the absence of me from their mind.
Mm-hmm. No, I can understand that. Like there's always like a lot of busy time. Like I mean, like my best friends, especially like my best friends also outside of content creation is like. I remember one of my best friends went to the States to study, and like he threw like a big party. That was years ago, by the way. Corona wasn't a thing yet. He threw like a big party, like a farewell party sort of thing, because he went to the States to study. So we were like it felt like such a definitive thing, because like he's going away overseas. When we're gonna ever see him again, sort of thing. And then like he was back by December because he goes back home for like Christmas, and like we just did not notice that he was gone because we would just like meet up like twice a year sort of thing, like once every half a year, because since we like everyone moved on with like their own study sort of things, so everyone was doing their own thing, and we would meet up like once every half a year, and it was like, oh dude, I completely forgot you were in the States because we like every time that we meet up, which is like a couple of times a year, you're there, and that doesn't mean that like we don't care about each other. It's just like we have our own lives and we have our own business. I do think that like a topic for an entirely other day, maybe not even a FrameCast, well, who knows, would be like the initiation thing of like conversations. Like I also feel like a lot of times like I'm someone that like initiates a lot of conversations. Like I'm really glad that like you do that too. So like you're one of the few people that like I'm in contact with that will just like shoot me messages sometimes, or I'm like, hey dude, how's it going, or hey, how are you doing, how is you? And I really appreciate that. But like I oftentimes feel like I'm the one that's like initiating conversations, and I feel like that's the sentiment which like a lot of people carry. And like I'm always curious, like if a lot of people feel like they're always initiating the conversations between like their friends, it's like if everyone feels that way, then like who's not initiating conversations? But yeah, it's like people are busy as well, so
Yeah, no, I do agree. But anyway, should we move on?
yeah, let's move on. There's one more thing. Let's see. You discussed about your about streaming services can hold on to shows, and that there should be certain ways to prevent the streaming services from holding on to shows. This was about like Disney Plus
Yeah,
and
I
Netflix.
remember.
Yeah. Why can't the streaming services for movies and series be similar to the way that gaming platforms host different games from different companies? So, yeah.
So you're not wrong there. I think the reason for that is, oh God, I don't know what the rules are with regards to TV shows and things like this whole syndication thing where it allows it to be shown on multiple networks at the same time if it's reached 100 episodes. I don't know where that's come from, but it is actually a real thing.
Mhm.
But I think because video games have existed for such a brief glimpse of television, then it hasn't festered that kind of limitation,
Mm-hmm.
right? So as a result, there is some. God, how do I?
There are certain like they don't really have that mindset which came from TV, where it's like this thing goes in there, this thing goes in there, and we'll never like cross
Yeah,
pollinate sort of thing. One thing that I'm wondering about that, like when you bring it up, I'm not quite well aware because like my gaming history has been shorter than yours. But would you say that like the sharing of games amongst like different platforms like PC, Xbox, PS4, or Nintendo, or like their previous contemporaries. Um, has that been more or less like exclusives? Because I feel to a certain degree that recently it may have gotten like the idea of exclusives is still sort of there, but it seems to be less there. Where like PS4 exclusives will like are coming over to PC and Xbox, and crossplay is initiated with some games. But then again, like I'm not quite aware of like how that used to be back in the day, and whether I'm just like making it up because it feels like it because I've seen some games like say that, or whether like exclusivity used to be a bigger deal, like part of
So
it.
back in the day, pretty much every game was an exclusive. So when I'm not going to say in the dawn of gaming, I'm saying in the sort of more console generations with the Sega Mega Drive and the
Mm-hmm.
Super Nintendo Entertainment System, the the big thing was that those platforms were completely different. So in order to actually, get a character to move across the screen, you had to develop it in two completely different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So the um, so that there was no way to realistically port a game from one platform to another. There weren't really proper dev kits and things. It was a case of, you'd have the hardware, and you'd have to just basically do all the maths involved. A lot of video games were built in things like assembler, so there wasn't any high level programming language. So pretty much, like, if you bought the Lion King on the Sega Mega Drive and the Lion King on the SNES, two completely different games. If you
Mm-hmm.
bought Amazing Spider-Man on the PlayStation, Amazing Spider-Man on the SNES, two completely different games, right? So exclusivity was not popular. It was just the only way games could exist,
Mm-hmm.
right? So even though you would actually have a company like Disney who would hire a developer to make the Lion King on or actually Aladdin. Aladdin is like a really like keynote one in my head. Even though you would actually hire one company to develop Aladdin for the Sega Mega Drive, you would hire a completely different company to make Aladdin for the SNES, right? And none of the assets were transferable. So, they just said like this is the general premise, and yeah, I
Go make
mean,
something.
exactly. But
Yeah.
I would say exclusivity is a bigger thing in this day and age, only because video games are a lot bigger, right?
Yeah.
The sheer volume of video games that are pumped out in a single year is so much vaster,
Mm-hmm.
greater today than it was way back when.
Yeah. I I think a part of it, which plays a role, is that you have competing interests in the games industry and no competing interest in like the streaming industry. So what you have, like if you're a developer of a game right now, and unlike what like you described in the early days where like one developer would create a game for one platform, it could not be ported over. Right now, if I develop a game, and it can, like most of the time these games can just be ported over with some like some work required sometimes to like make it more functional for consoles or make it more functional, especially for the Switch, which is like an odd one out. But it's a lot easier than it used to be. For me as a developer, like I have more incentive to spread it out over multiple platforms, because then people with a PC, with an Xbox, with a PS4, with a like Nintendo, everyone can play it, and that means more sales rather than if I restrict it to one single platform. So there is like this interest from developers to like be able to like put it out on all platforms, and I do think that console makers somehow have like they do have some interest, which is why they have some exclusives, which they make a big deal. But there's also so many games coming out, as you say, like there are so many games coming out that previously, especially when like discs were still the way to go, consoles did not make any money really all that much, I believe, from like game sales, like from their individual game sales sort of thing. So their focus was more like, let's have a couple of really good exclusives, and then like use those to like get everyone over. But like they would never like buy up like all of the game studios sort of thing to only publish on their platform, like Disney is doing right now on like the streaming side of thing.
So the big thing was that the console itself was sold at a loss. I mean, it still is today. Consoles are typically sold at a loss. So, but it's the money that they make off the games that makes the platform work and survive. You know, so there's always a larger margin of profit on console games than there are on PCs. However, that has slowly shifted where, you know, console games and PC games are sold at the same price, which is like fucking ludicrous.
Downloadable games and like off-the-shelf games are sold at the same price as well.
Exactly, you know, so it's like in all logistics, it should not be the same. But regardless of that, the big thing back then was you would have a game idea, and then you would try and find a publisher to pick up the game to basically financially support the game during development, or support the developers during the development of the game. And then when the game was released, the majority of the profits would go to the publisher because they're the ones that invested in the production of the game. And this slowly led to a lot of publishers buying out studios and, you know, swallowing them whole, so on and so forth, which then led to publishers like EA and, to a lesser extent at the time, Activision. It was primarily just EA. They were just like consuming studios and just, you know, pumping out games like The Sims. Oh my Sims. You know, FIFA games. You get the idea, right?
Our most beloved games they pushed out.
But I think in this day and age, exclusives are pushed more, you know, so manufacturers like Sony and Microsoft are more inclined to scoop up companies, developers, so that they can drive sales to their platform, right? So obviously there was the big thing with
Bethesda, the Xbox buying Bethesda.
Literally that was what I was going to talk about. Yeah, so as a result, then, you know, the future Doom games, future Elder Scroll games, they'll certainly come out on PC, but there's a very high chance that they'll just come out on the Xbox as well, which, you know, won't be as appealing to, what's the name of the damn thing?
So like,
won't be as,
so like
PlayStation. Yeah.
So like, actually, now that I think about it, I think the big difference between like the streaming industry and the gaming industry is that, streaming, we mean like TV streaming. So the TV industry and the gaming industry is that in the TV industry, the people that now have the streaming platforms own the content. And Netflix, like, because they were an early adopter, were able to like step in as like, they didn't necessarily own the content, but then because they get so much money, they could make their own stuff. Now you see that every single one is like creating their own streaming servers. I think that the thing that's like saved the gaming industry from that is that the big investors that bought up all the studios were like EA and Activision, and they don't own a console, so they have vested interest in like spreading it out. However, what we might see is if Microsoft now, I mean, they bought Bethesda. If Microsoft could be following like the streaming service idea, where they're like, okay, we just want to make exclusive to our platform like all our Bethesda games, all our ZeniMax owned studio games, because we have our streaming service called the Game Pass. And if Sony responds to that by buying up other studios, we might see actually the gaming industry conforming a little bit more to like the streaming side of things, like the TV side of things, rather than the TV side of things conforming to the gaming side of things, because there is extra incentive for, especially right now, for game companies, for console owners to for the console companies to make money, because digital downloads, it's like, oh boy, you know, same price, same game, but just a digital version, Game Pass, like PlayStation Plus, Xbox Live sort of thing. Like these are things where they're making so much money of all the digital stuff. They're making insane amounts of money of. So because of that, they can actually like buy these studios and just be like, okay, well, if you want to have it, go onto our servers and pay for us, and not even pay through game stores anymore. Don't go to your local game store. Just pay through our terminal, which costs the same amount of money, so we make more profit because there's no profits accounted for that normally would go to like your local game store. That just all goes to us. So it might be that like this shifts more to the TV side of things rather than the TV shifting to the game side of things, which I'm actually not really hoping for because that would make it worse. But we can only see as time goes on.
Yeah.
All right. I think those were the comments. Let's get into the main titular topic of today. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, let's go. Here we go. We have what does Warframe's Deimos Arcana update mean for the games community and future? On the 19th of November, Warframe released a new update to the latest open world Deimos. This update included new isolation vaults, a new necromech, and new additional arcanes, which are like, if you're not familiar with Warframe, it's like sort of power up sort of thing.
How are our audience not familiar with Warframe?
Just in case, you know.
No.
How long has it been since we've done a Warframe topic?
No, I'm pretty sure all our audience right now are very familiar with Warframe.
If you are not familiar with Warframe, please speak up in chat, or please send a message, send a comment to you on YouTube, or post a tweet on Twitter to us, and like say like, "Hey, Drew, don't forget about me." That'd be great.
I know everything about Warframe. Yeah, okay.
I know everything about Warframe. Anyway, I mean, like, just in case, you always got to account for like people joining in on the first podcast now. I mean, like, there's Warframe in the title, so you have a point there. Anyway. The update comes after the launch of Deimos, which launched in August 25th, and it's not necessarily seen as like a big important update. It's not like a new open world launch, but it still has a community somewhat unsatisfied. One of the things in which that has shown is the trailer video released by Warframe, which is suffering right now from a heavy like to dislike ratio. Or dislike to like ratio, with many fans voicing their displeasement about the game in the comments section. Let me bring this forward right here. You can see right now, it's like the video right here is like 60,000 views. It got 1.4k likes and 2.1k dislikes, which for the Warframe community is quite unheard of. People are always like sort of like upset with things.
Insupportive.
But like the overwhelming majority, especially on the Warframe YouTube channel, like they're always like very supportive. So like I have never seen in my 7 years of Warframe such a dislike ratio on a video of Warframe. Like that's crazy. So going for the comment section, like the most notable things that are brought up are issues with the repetitiveness of the open world formula, which with Deimos being their third open world, the bounty and token system requiring players to do like mini games like fishing and mining for like acquiring in-game content like the necromechs, and the lack of the promise content like the new war. I actually saw an interesting tweet come by. I don't know who retweeted that of like Rebecca.
Warframe memes. I know the one you mean.
Yeah, I think you've seen that one. Whereas, like, if that's not out by then, anyway. Furthermore, aside from this video, objectively Warframe's most reputable, popular, and significant podcast named 10 O'Clock featured its host going on a huge rant that shook the foundations of the Warframe core community, as they voiced some similar concerns in their last episode. Hence why, for more detailed discussion and more editorial things which I might have gotten wrong, I will now turn to Drew.
You son of a bitch.
No, but in all honesty, like I've been back to Warframe last week for another stream. Like I haven't been around for it that much, but I have been following some of it, of course, like some of it for 10 O'Clock as well. And then I came across that this video, like I've never seen this before, and I also heard you guys rant on 10 O'Clock. So like I think this is somewhat significant. Like not in like Warframe is dying, because it absolutely is not. I don't want to like give up that impression that we're going for that at all. But I think it's curious, and like wouldn't you say like there is something curious going on as well in Warframe right now?
So I want to avoid the speculation of why was it another open world, right? Not because it's not fun to speculate, but it's just impossible to get the answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to say categorically, oh, this is why they did it. So I don't want to waste everyone's time repeating that same old rigmarole.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
To me, I am dissatisfied with Deimos for a number of reasons. One, the plot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had people turn to me and say that they were really happy with how it ended with the quest, but I've got to be honest, no. I was not happy in the slightest. Yes, I know it was you.
Yeah, I'll shy away in
shame.
In shame.
Yeah, you'd be shamed, boy.
Yeah.
So I was not happy with how the plot had progressed. I wasn't happy, again, likewise, that you were forced to get these tokens for daughter and son and grandmother in order to actually do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there was no easy way to get those tokens. It was, oh, you have to go do conservation. Oh, you have to go do fishing. Oh, you have to go do mining. Oh, it's just like,
yeah, it's very like back in the day with like the first open worlds. I can't believe that I'm saying back in the day for those, but back in the day, like you would require like some resources for it, but like if you wanted to like level up sort of thing, like you like standing was just get standing from like you could get standing from doing anything. And now with like the bounties, no, with the token system, you require certain tokens from certain characters, and those characters are connected to just do fishing, just do mining, and it's like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I think that looking at Deimos, like the thing that you're saying about the quest, the storyline, you're absolutely right in. I completely missed the last thing that turned around, where it's like, oh, it was grandmother all along, and like I kind of completely missed that because I was expecting it to be an introductionary chapter to something way bigger. So when I saw like the Necromech, I was like, oh, that's a void portal. They're coming from the past. There is like an entire army behind it, or like in history, and they're mad and just character we're gonna see back because he's got like an interesting past because he spoke or something and he broke the heart, and it's like I was so much in like, oh, this is just the beginning, and like I completely missed that. I was like, oh, I was a grandmother all along, and like if once I noticed, I was like, oh boy, yeah, that just took away a lot of the fire of that. Aside from the story though, I do think that when it comes to execution, I think that Deimos is one of the better open worlds. I think that's like a lot of things have been refined when it comes to map size, when it comes to like the setting, the feeling, the scenario, the characters. Like I feel they did it quite right. Like how does it rank? You know, like that's for subjective opinion, but I do think that they gotten the open world quite right in the sense of like the way like if you look at Warframe open worlds, it's a well done Warframe open world. I don't want to like discredit them for that because I think that they did that rather well. I do think though that for me personally, there is a lot of repetitiveness sort of thing in the gameplay. It's like it's been the third year of open worlds, or like not the third year. It's been like the third open world since Plains of Eidolon. And for me, like when the open worlds came out, like I thought it was kind of fun, but it was a fun niche sort of thing. It was like, oh yeah, cool, like this is so big, but that was kind of it. It was also for me like it was very early place on the map, and I was like, I thought it was fun, but whatever, you know. I played it for a bit and then moved on to like the rest of Warframe, and now again, like their big update is like a Deimos update, and it's like all the mechanics are pretty much still the exact same. That I'm like, I look into it, I'm like, okay, this is the world, that looks cool. I'll do a couple of bounties. I advanced 2 ranks, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I've done all this. I can't be bothered by it anymore. And I just kind of like pass up, even though like the Necromech, I would love to have one. But I was at some point, yeah, I've done this like 2 times already. I'm not going to do it a third time. And I think that that's something which I found personally is that like the repetitiveness, like it's been the same thing sort of thing for 3 years for 3 updates in a row when it comes to open worlds.
I disagree, but only on the simple basis that this isn't the same thing that we had between Plains of Eidolon and Fortuna. But this is definitely the same thing we've had between between Fortuna and Heart of Deimos,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I totally agree with you on that essence. This hasn't evolved. The small scale nature of Deimos, it's interesting, but I think I'm not quite sure how I feel about the Arcwings. A part of me feels like the Arcwings detract from it, but because of how repetitive Deimos is, you need the Arcwings to just get you through the mundane nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to.
So
I feel, yeah.
So I was wondering about, I mean, like a lot of these concerns or like the things that we're voicing, like have been voiced in some degree over the past few years, even when Fortuna came out or when Deimos just came out. But I feel like right now it's like spiked up a bit. Now I've not been as closely like connected to the Warframe community as you are, especially with like you doing a lot with Warframe on your channel. Do you think that like there's like there could be a particular reason or an event that like caused this dissatisfaction with more people in the community than that used to be before?
I think that yes, there is dissatisfaction because there are some things that were a step forward or more a step laterally, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, horizontally. But then there were some elements that were a step backwards, you know, making the mining and conservation mandatory in order to get the tokens in order to rank up and stuff. Personally, I was talking to Loz about this. We feel that the token system shouldn't have been available until after you're at max rank with the Entrati. So a
Mm-hmm.
secondary system. So, oh, I want to get this. You have to spend these tokens. How do I get these tokens? You have to be max rank, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd also say you don't show the prize until the players are at max rank. Do you know what I mean by that? So you wouldn't
Yeah.
show them the cool stuff that you buy with the tokens until they are max.
Mm-hmm. No, I can entirely like understand that. I think we spoken about it when the update came out, sort of thing. That I would love to see an open world which would like kind of like open up, sort of thing, as you progress through the ranks, because right now like the world kind of stays the same, and also like the same with the rewards, like not necessarily like in the environment, but also with like reward sort of thing. Is like if you start out right now, you're rank 1, you can just like look for all the rewards of what it will be, and you're just like, okay, I gotta get to max ranks, I can get everything, and then like gotta get these tokens, gotta get this, gotta get that. And it would be kind of nice if you could just like, you know, you go to next rank, you explore something, sort of thing. Like you explore like, oh, these are the rewards available to you now, and then you get to max rank, it's like, oh, you explore now, you have the new token system, and with these new token system you can get this, instead of like the tokens being dangled in front of your face of like this thing, like you can get that, you can get that, do the tokens. I think that it could definitely be merit in that.
Yeah, likewise, I feel that the tokens, like, probably reduce the amount of tokens, but have it so that if you want to do if you want to encourage the players to do conservation and fishing, have them as part of the bounty. So, you know, make it so that daughter and son can both give bounties that are specialized to what they have a personal interest in. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there isn't just one quest giver in the quest hub. There's many, right?
Yeah.
And likewise, you can have it so that daughter's like, right, well, we need you to go to the plains of Eidolon to fish some lungfish, which I think is the most common fish there, bring it back to here, right? And allow the fish to mutate. So you go from a fishing stage, yeah, in a bounty, bring them back to Deimos, where it's then like a mobile defense mission, or it's just a defense mission. So you're letting the fish become infected and things like that. You get the idea. And then it turns into a exterminate mission, or you know, so on and so forth. So there's options at, you know, getting the tokens rather than, I'll just fish up these fish, which is, you know, boring.
Yeah, I mean, like I agree with you on that. Like it's fishing and mining have never been my most favorite things. Like I consider them mini games personally. Like side things that were added to the game, which are fun to do if you just wanted to do as like, oh, let me just pass some time, let me try the game in a different way. But they're not like the core thing of Warframe. And we were talking about that last week on stream about like someone said that if they would not add bounties or tokens or requirements to like the fishing and mining, then no one would do them. And like, why would you want no one to do something where you spend time developing on? Because I mean, like it costs development time, so like you don't want people to like not spend time playing it. So like giving rewards behind them, giving like gameplay rewards or requiring tokens behind them actually gets people to do it, and that will then result in like rewarding the developing time. But I personally felt like the thing that I feel about that is that the game has a certain identity. Like everything has a certain identity. Like we have a certain identity. Our channels have a certain identity. Like something that like combines things together, which make it like us. So if I
Yeah.
do things, if I do this podcast, it's very much like it's somewhat in line with like what is me. Compared to like, and also when I do like a dumb funny gameplay video on the channel, which I haven't done in a while, but if I do that, then like there's also something that's connecting me there. Like there's always like some connection with that. Um, and I know that some people are like, wow, you should always explore other options. But it's like, like you definitely should stay open for things. But you can't just like randomly make it choose everything because what is you then? And people that like really fall in love with you or like really fall in love with like an identity, they really love some idea, like a game, like the identity of a game. If the game then starts to like grasp onto like all different things instead of like its identity, like you can start to lose touch of what the game is. And it's like, well, but like this is not really what I signed up for. So I think that minigames are a great way of exploring like different things where it's like, I mean, Frame Fighter, for example, was like this arcade style game. It's like, that's not Warframe. If that would become a required part of Warframe, it's like, that's not really it. But, a
Yeah.
minigame is a perfect way of exploring that. You can add that in, people can play it. And who knows if it would.
I
Yeah.
just to jump on what
Mhm.
you're saying, I'd argue not mini games, but events.
Yeah.
Have it as a event.
That's that like that sounds great. It's like, yeah. I mean, the thing that I find is that if you develop minigames, you can go as wild as you want to. And fishing and mining is great. But like if you want to also then say, "Oh, we're just going to incorporate that in the core gameplay." It's like if it's not really part of the identity of the game, then it's going to be really hard to push people through it. And then it's like if you want to have something be supported by like your community, make it part of your identity or like develop something different around it or just make it a mini game because like it's not wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with having something be in the game which isn't necessarily the main focus of the game, which isn't played all that much. It's like, that's not really a big problem. Like an event actually sounds like a great idea. Let's say there's like fishing event, like if you catch so many fish you can get this or that. Like that would be
Yeah.
cool. But because it's been like for me, because it's been like for free open worlds, it is still around. I just don't have interest in it.
Yeah, I think the big thing for a lot of the player base is looking for that expansion to Railjack. Railjack was obviously released prematurely. Hell, they turned around and they apologized for its premature release.
Mhm.
But I think that there's two sides to this, right? One, the investors, and I do mean like Liao Yu, which later became Tencent. I don't think Tencent was involved at that point.
No.
And then there's the player base, right? So there's two sides to this coin. One of these two sides, maybe both, one of these two sides at least was the cause that pressured DE into doing another open world. Whether it be like, oh, give us something big and expansive, content drought, oh, we need something huge, oh, content drought, or if it's a case of, we need you to make a bucket ton of cash, right? Do something that's a safe bet, yeah? It could easily be either of these two things. Because as we've said at the beginning of this, even though we wish Heart of Deimos was more than what it ended up being, fortunately, not unfortunately, fortunately, the player base on Steam, the Steam charts, is still very strong.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean, I can very well understand, especially with Railjack, it being better have something out than nothing, especially when it comes to like, I mean, I find it when it comes to videos, like when it comes to like my YouTube channel, like whenever I want to, whenever it comes to like uploading videos, my YouTube channels have been rather quiet. And it's not good for like a creative outlet, especially if you depend on it for money, to like not have things come out of it. So like when it comes to to not update anything. So like when I don't post a video and don't post a video in a long time, like that is bad for my channel. And I can imagine the same thing for Warframe. If Warframe doesn't update for a long time, that could be bad for the game. However, if they promised this big ass thing, which was like Railjack, and then they discovered as they were like developing it, like, ah shit, this is not really working out the way that we thought it would be, and it's costing way too much time. It's like at a certain point, people are expecting so much that like either it's like we've got to release this because otherwise we're just not putting anything out, and it's like, you know, we need to put something new in, or it could also have been like, you know, let's just bring this out, see what the reaction is, and you know, once it's out, at least we can move on with other things as well. Then again, like that's all speculation, which like as you said at the start, like we're not really interested in because we don't know the answers. We haven't been there. We don't know what the cause was. Railjack was indeed an interesting update for the fact that like, yeah, you know, it didn't really peak as much in the player base as expected with previous updates, and it wasn't like very well received all across the board. And I think that Heart of Deimos was generally a rather safe bet. And I think that, like, for all that it was worth, like, it was quite a decent update sort of thing. It was like, it was a raid. The thing that I'm just very, very interested by is that right now, like, not with the Deimos update itself, because around the Deimos update itself, I think, like, a lot of people were rather positive about it. Like, people did have their gripes. But I don't remember people, like, massively disliking a Warframe video. So, like, I'm wondering right now, like, what has happened with this particular update that's got people upset? Is it that they, like, have to, like, there's the new update, but they have to return again to do the same thing again? Or is it, like, I've heard about, like, the arcanes that came out, which are, like, basically, like, you have arcane, like, as far as I've been told, it's like you have an arcane which you can put on your Warframe, you have an arcane which you can put on your weapon, so that you can like synergize between them. It's kind of like something to introduce synergy to people, but like the synergy that happens between these two arcanes is far less like useful than like just putting two arcanes on them. So like it's actually like not really all that useful sort of thing. Could have been any of those, or like what have you experienced so far when like why now is the question, kind of like why now, what's caused this, that now all of a sudden people are taking notice or like taking issue with things that previously they didn't in such great numbers.
Personally, I think it's the fact that this isn't the expansion to Deimos doesn't resolve a lot of the I want to say underlying issues. A lot of the, you know, the token system for the son and daughter, that's not going to get addressed. That sounds like, you know, if you wanted to do what I was suggesting, it sounds like a big thing to do, and you probably have to hire the voice actors back, assuming that all their lines are, you know, done ages ago. If you wanted to change various different elements of it, I think that it's not the expansion people wanted for Heart of Deimos, and I can kind of appreciate it. I think right now for the open worlds, the weakest element is the sorry, my brain has completely frozen.
Token system, bounty system.
No, it's the bounties. I think the bounty system is the weakest element for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
By the way, did they already remove the Arcwing missions from the game, or is that still going to happen?
I don't know if they have as of yet, but it's
set to happen at some point.
Yeah. So I assume it's going to happen when they push the Corpus Queen pins and Railjack.
Okay. There is one thing which I want to get to, which Ephime said in chat before I want to like move on, because there was one thing which I think is an interesting thing to talk about, which was just about what we were talking about, the token system. Ephime said, I think the token system was made due to the daily standing limits. Once you've reached that limit, you could still do the required activities, get resources and token. You could still do the resources. I'll just read it out. I'll just say it in my own words. Basically, like, previously, if you had standing in your like daily standing, you had limits to like how much standing you could do, and if you went ahead and did more bounties, you got no standing. And right now, if you do bounties, you can still get tokens. You can trade in the tokens for the standing, and if you hit your limit, you can still do bounties and get tokens. And that's why they believe that like the token system was introduced to solve that problem. Do you think that it solved that effectively, or was it actually like a way to like patch something, but that actually took a step back, sort of thing?
That problem it did fix 100%, right? But it caused another problem, right? I think the fact that the tokens, the fact that there wasn't just one token, or the fact that you had to do all these different, plethora of different tasks to get the tokens, you had to do the things that you didn't necessarily like to get the tokens. I think that was the detriment, right? I think realistically a better solution, and I'd be interested to hear from our listeners, what I would propose is a decrease in returns, so a diminishing returns. So, oh, cool, you've collected, so say you've got like 20,000, right? So you collected 15,000 at 100%, right? And the last 5,000 you collect at 50%, right? And then after that, you collect at 10%, right? So you can still collect, right? But it's a lot smaller. Yeah.
So it's like there is an incentive to go only to a certain amount, because that will be the most efficient sort of thing for the day, and then you can move on. And if you really want to stay, like it will just be less efficient. I can kind of understand the idea. Like it doesn't really hard stop it, and it doesn't force you to do certain things. Yeah, like I think like it, like as you said, like it solved one problem, it created another. Getting back to the thing that you were saying before, like I just wanted to touch on this real quickly, because I thought it was like an interesting thing to bring up, especially because like we were saying like the token system was a bad thing, but it did fix something. It just like created more problems when it went along, which is the best thing for a fix. But like you were saying, like you were talking about something where steps were taken like horizontally instead of like moving on at some point. I think that one thing which to me is the case with Warframe. I think that that's the way to say it. One thing that is the case with me for Warframe is that I feel from a certain moment on, Warframe has taken a lot of like horizontal steps, where it's Plains of Eidolon was a horizontal step sort of thing, where the story wasn't necessarily continued on. We did see that later on with the sacrifice, and then with like the apostasy prologue, and then another prologue. Like before, like there would be like these steps forward, and then the steps would be taken sideways with Plains of Eidolon, Fortuna, and Heart of Deimos. They're all sort of like side steps, which don't really recognize that many things that happen later on in the game, because they're also very much intended for like newer players to jump in.
Sorry, I wanted to highlight, when I say horizontal steps, I mean that there is no sense of progression. For me, an open world is so basically rendering this huge expansive environment compared to the tiny little tunnels we were used to. That's a step forward. The multi-step bounty system, that's a step forward. The Eidolons is a step forward. The Profit Taker, right, was a horizontal step, because it was the same as the Eidolons, right? The bonus rewards you get on doing perfect bounties, that's a step forward. The the plot, again, that's a horizontal step because, as you put it, it doesn't really further the end narrative. It only furthers the beginning narrative, which has had a lot of attention already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
going to Deimos, right? Fishing, completely horizontal. Mining, completely horizontal. Bounties, completely horizontal. What you call it? Secret faction, or the equivalent of the Quills of Oxalaris, which is Lloyd. Completely horizontal. There is nothing that is a step forward. Maybe the only thing that you could consider as a step forward is the fact that everything is nice and closely packed together, as opposed to you have to travel for miles before you actually get to your destination. But that is such a minor step forward, and that is the disappointing thing, I think.
I would kind of love that if that was a step forward, because then from like Plains of Island to Fortuna, the step forward was that the map was 3 to 4 times bigger, and then from like Fortuna to Deimos, like the step forward was that the map was 4 to 5 times smaller. It's like that's a line of progression. Beautiful.
Yep.
No, I think that's definitely an important thing to like the thing that you're pointing out when it comes to like technological steps forward. Yes, you're like, yeah, I agree with that. For me personally, for like in my experience, aside from like the technological steps forward, I always felt that Plains, like, okay, hold on, I need to correct myself here. I've generally felt that Plains of Island, Fortuna, and Deimos were steps, like horizontal steps sort of thing, in the sense of the way that my progression felt. And I'm saying generally because there were definitely things like Eidolons and the Profit Taker sort of thing where they were more challenging, but they were a small part of the content. And it felt like I always had to go back to like the back end of like the early start of the game rather than move forward, where like which we did in like 2015. And because of that, I like when it comes to like this open world update, aside from all of the technological horizontal steps, which you pointed out, where like there hasn't been much innovation with Deimos, it also just personally didn't really speak that much to me, because I just felt like, yeah, I mean, it's another meaningless. Meaningless is a really wrong word. It felt like a side plot sort of thing. Like, let's say you're watching an anime series and there's like some filler, or like a movie adaptation. It's like the best thing, actually. So like, let's say you're watching like a series and there's a movie that comes out, and that movie will always takes place in like a certain time of like the series progression.
Ambiguity.
But it will never impact the end of the plot, and it will never really impact the rest of the plot sort of things. So like the Heart of Deimos seems like such an important thing in the universe, but it's never referenced anywhere in like the sacrifice or anything, because it's like the movie. It's the movie adaptation. So like, we have like this thing which is really interesting, but it will all be self-contained. And because of that, like the interest that I already initially had was already less. And then, as you say, like if there's no innovation, or like not actually little innovation in the technological side of things, like it just draws your attention very much away from it. And I feel that for me, and I can also see that in like some of the returning comments, that people have also felt that, where because over the last few years it has been this thing where it's like sidesteps and plots and progression, that they're like, well, if we're doing this for a third time, it's like, it's fun, I'll see a little bit of it, but then I'll move on to try something else.
Yeah, I personally want to see Warframe do some cool stuff. I think that, open worlds are great and everything, but unless there's innovation, it won't keep the attention of the player base. Railjack, now don't get me wrong, I do think that Deimos had a better launch than Railjack. Railjack had a lot of negativity behind it because there was a lot that was missing, right? Better thing. 10-point scale, right? If you've got a 1 or a 2, like, people really didn't like it, there's something you can do about it, right? Yeah. If you've got an 8, 9, or 10, there's something you can do because people really love it, right? The thing you've got to watch out for is the 6 and the 7, right? Because if people are they're not indifferent, but if they're like, it's good, then you can't act on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What isn't good about it? What, like, that's one thing that I feel that content creators have a great opportunity to vocalize, because we work so hard on refining our thoughts, being able to articulate what we're on about, what we're banging on about, that I feel we're able to. Oh my god, I sound so entitled. I'm
Yeah,
really sorry,
I'm
everyone. I'm
sorry.
so sorry.
I had to kind of like hold a bit of a laugh
Yeah.
because I was like, it just sounds so like if you just tune in and then we as content creators work so hard on refining our thoughts so that we know.
No, but you understand what I'm saying. Like,
It-
everything I'm saying right now is, not. Oh god.
I mean, okay,
Everything I'm saying.
so like we're generally tend to not be someone that just randomly goes on Reddit and goes and like makes a shit post like, I hate this game because I just did not get my reward. Fuck this. Most of the time, videos or streams, especially when they're representative, or especially when it's like more in a review like Sade or someone that like does mull over it, they will be more constructive and there will be more thought behind it. I don't think that like it's, if there's someone there's a content creator that will always have a better thought out opinion, and I certainly don't think that's exclusive to content creators, but there is a higher probability of having someone that does content creation and someone to kind of like review or discussion content creation for a job or for like an important side hobby sort of thing. They will have a better for that perspective than someone that just like rages and like gives the game a 1 star without having ever played it because they just felt like it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've done some topics on 10 o'clock, which you read the title aloud and you're just like, what the hell? I mean, you say you listened to the last episode where we had the rant, right? Do you remember what the topic was about?
I actually don't. I'm sorry.
Okay, so no, it's fine. The topic was about that abilities should lose the energy and have a cooldown instead, and the ultimate ability should have a meter that you fill up by killing enemies. And just like Overwatch, I'm like,
yeah.
this is not Overwatch. There's so many things that are just not Oh my god, you've not thought this through.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where were we on about when we started talking about like refining thoughts and sort of things? Oh yeah. Railjack and like people being like really liking it, really loving it, or being like somewhat like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I think that for me, a big part as to why Railjack was less well received than Heart of Deimos had to do with the way that it was delivered and the way that was hyped up. I think that a really good move with Deimos was that was announced within a month, like less than a month, like someone like a month or something. Like they announced it at TennoCon, a couple of weeks later, it was out, and that was like, what? That was like insane. That Warframe had never done that before. Whereas Railjack was like announced like a couple of years ago, and it was like, who knows? It might happen this year, or it might happen next year. And then when it released, it was like very bare bones as compared to Heart of Deimos. So I think that definitely helped with like the way that things were received, especially like when something new drops, you don't know the extent of it. So like I was super excited when Heart of Deimos dropped, and like I saw like the first scenes of like the quest, is like, oh, this is amazing, because it felt good. And only like later on will you realize the tokens that you need to progress. So like the first reactions were really good. I really enjoyed it. But anyway, I like the thing that I think we should, like I want to move a little bit towards too, because we talked about some of the problems, we talked about some of the things that went right, the things that went wrong. Like what do you think, like getting to like the question about like what does this mean for the future? First of all, like, do you think that this is something which will garner like some form of response from like the Warframe developers, the like the way that people have now like rather focally on this one video already, like outspoken. I haven't checked the Reddit or the forums, but I assume there will be a lot of like comments there too. Do you think that this is something which will be like a significant moment to them, where like they will respond? Will they probably not respond? Like, do you expect anything to happen? Do you think anything is going to happen with this, or will this like blow by sort of thing?
No, I think that there'll be internal stuff. I don't think there'll be realistically forward-facing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think they will turn around and say, Yeah, moving on to the next big thing with the queen pin system, right? That's what they do quite a lot. They might give a cursory, yeah, we kind of appreciate that it's the same old thing, at the end. Because again, as we've said already, the game isn't dying, the game isn't suffering, the game isn't like falling, isn't dying like bloody Avengers has. Right? Oh my god, that game is just
tanking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering how long Godfall's going to last. But moving on from that, the Avengers, Godfall, tanking.
The game isn't dying, but
I think if anything, this is going to show to DE and the player base and the investors that you can't just shit out the same product again. You have to innovate. You have to do something on top of this, because Warframe cultivated a player base for growth by growth. If there's no growth, then the game is going to peter out, right? Look at Call of Duty. I know people that spent £70 on Call of Duty, played it for 24 hours. I mean, a day, not for 24 hours solid, and then never played it again, right? I know people that have bought, just silly amounts of games. AAA title games are literally just a copy-paste job, and they're awful. Blizzard and Digital Extremes are both companies that grew from cultivating a sentiment of gameplay first, right? And if the gameplay first mentality is not maintained, then they're going to suffer. Look at Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Yeah.
How that,
that was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
That was a beautiful train wreck. So I really feel that with Heart of Deimos, if anything, it will show DE that they can't do the same cookie cutter formula again.
I think, in my opinion, it's a rather pivotal moment for Warframe right now, which is a good moment, I feel, because I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, but I think that in general, the idea around Warframe was that there was a large part of its community that would be very, very happy to defend like their game for anything, and there would be no wrong that they could do. So I remember whenever I would say something where I'd be like, well, there's a bit of criticism, which I think is sort of justified because of my reasons. I would be hit with the, well, you should be glad that the developers come into work every day. And I was like, okay. Because I had a feeling that there was a significant part of the community that really felt that there was no wrong that DE could do, there was no wrong that Warframe could do, and how dare you criticize my game. And I think that like you've always been like 10 o'clock has always been like this place of reason sort of thing where I could turn to where at least things would be discussed without like the over like, oh, DE can do no wrong, or like the occasional, oh, I hate everything because Ember isn't the strongest frame in the game and they nerfed her and it was my favorite and fuck this game. It's like, both sides are not the greatest sides, but like I do think that right now there has been a change, or at least a noticeable thing. Like, I don't know if this is like a substantiating change, but if this could be a moment where the community isn't going to be always saying, oh, it's all right, it's fine, it's good, oh, you can do this all right. But instead it's going to be like critical about, hey, if you're doing the same thing again, we're not going to like it, and we're going to tell you that this is not really what we like. I think that could be very beneficial for the game, because the last thing you want, especially when it comes to an audience, and especially even more so when it comes to in real life, you don't want people around you that tell you that everything you do is the greatest and the best thing ever, because then you don't know where you're going. It's like, let's say that you were like sailing the Titanic and everyone would say, oh yeah, that like iceberg you're going for, that's the best way to go. Just keep on going. You're amazing. Keep on going. It's like, yeah, like that's not really the way to go about it, man. You need to have people that will tell you that when you're doing something which may be a little bit off, you can just be like, hey, watch out. So I think
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
something
yeah.
which is important.
I mean, hell, look at oh god, EA with was it The Sims 4?
Mm.
And they're like, oh, here's a list of all the possible topics, so all the possible expansions we could do. You know, which one do you really want us to do? And the least voted one was Star Wars, and that was the one that came out.
Uh,
I was just like, wow, good job.
I remember seeing that. I remember seeing that like as a meme come by, where it was like, oh, that was absolutely beautiful. I feel okay. One more thing which I want to say, and then let's close it off. One more thing which I think is an interesting thing is I felt that with like the horizontal movement, one thing that could like I feel like help Warframe a lot is to put a little bit more attention towards the back end of the game, which I know a lot of people have been saying, but like especially like the way that we felt like we were progressing with quests. I would love to see. I dare not say it, but the new war at some point, because what I feel that has been happening over like the last couple of years of Warframe is that there's a lot of people that are coming into this game as new players. It's like a great game, and like if you can get over this like little tutorial hump, you're like in for hours and hours of content. So like they're creating a lot of like
Yeah.
new players that come in, and a lot of like players that like get acquainted to the game. They become really invested because there's a lot to do. So they get these players which are super like invested and main this game, and like it's their thing. And then all of a sudden they just hit the end of the road, and it's like, well, now if you want to continue to play the game, you got to be casual about it. You got to be a casual player that will like teach other players, or that will play in like these plays on the Earth or Mars or Venus, and basically if you really want to like maintain your all in sort of thing, like there's not a lot there hasn't been this feeling that over the last couple of years there's been this attention to the player that really deeply loved the game and got towards the end, and then it's kind of like, well, you know, if you want to continue, you can go back. And I think that is something which I don't know, like whether it is strategically the smartest to put all your focus on like the start because you get more players in than you lose players sort of thing, or whether like I don't know what their reasons are, but I think that I
So
feel there is a flow of people that just like are pushed through and then just like let go sort of thing. And I feel like I was one of the people that was like let go because I was like, yeah, you know, Mars, I don't know. Yeah.
So I feel to be a little bit of devil's advocate that
Mhm.
there's so much data that DE will have that we will not be privy to, right?
Mhm.
For example, at the beginning of this conversation, me saying we won't know what was the spur that started Deimos. What I'm now referring to is DE could see that all these new players, right? If they get to oh god, what's Sarah? No, Ceres. Ceres is after Ceres is after Mars. If they get to Ceres or Pluto, sorry, no, not Pluto, Phobos. Sorry, my bad.
Mhm.
Other planet begins with P. Then there's like a 70% chance that the player will stick it out until the sacrifice, right? But the problem is the keeping the audience retention from Earth to Mars, you know, to Ceres or Phobos. So it could be a tactical move that the reason why they've put another open world there is because it's a chance to keep the player constantly going. As we have said, even though the audience retention for the content creators has really dropped off, I'm totally seeing it with Arbiters. 10 o'clock has slowly been decreasing because Warframe's not the big thing right now. But the player numbers on Steam charts is still what it was prior to the Heart of Deimos. You know, that to me means something.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, so
They could just be playing the long game, like the really long game, where like their focus is now let's solidify the new player experience before we go and add on to the back end of it. Because if we continue to make things for the back end of it and everyone just drops off after 2 plans because there isn't a lot of content there, then there's no use for it. But if we find a strategy where we can make players like stick around right now until like the point where they will continue to stick around for all the way towards the end. Then we sacrifice these years to make all that content so that then we can work on more stuff that is progression like towards the end sort of thing, because we now have a greater number of players that stick around that make it more worthwhile for us to do that. I can see that.
So we don't know. Like we really don't know. Personally, I'm in agreement. I would rather see expansion to content around Saturn. Around Saturn, Neptune. Yeah, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. I would rather see the expansion there, but obviously it's still toward the beginning. At least it was Mars and not Mercury.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's being said in chat right here, Blue Demon says the only motive I kept on playing is I got a spoiler of the War Within, and that kept me motivated to reach it. I think that for me, one of the things that was really a big instigator to keep on playing Warframe was the second dream. I wanted to figure out what would happen after. And then we got the War Within, and that like even spurred me on more because we're getting follow-ups, and then when like the sacrifice felt like it took longer to come out, and then it came out, and then after that it was just like sort of teasers that really like did things for me where I was like, it felt like I was like climbing on learning more about this world, and then I was just like, ooh, let's hold the series for now and let's go do movie adaptations. And I was like, first movie adaptation was very brilliant and very fantastic, but like after that I was like, I want to continue on again. Anyway, I do think round is up, what does it mean for Warframe's future? I think that it is interesting to see that Warframe now gets some criticism, which I think is good. Like, they've always gotten it, but I think it's good that we're seeing it more, where it's rightfully applied. And I am curious as to see how they respond. If they respond to this and they take it serious and they move forward with new change, not repetitiveness. If they're not gonna like release another open world next year, where it's just a copy paste of the same thing, then that would definitely be good for the game. If this is the long game that they're playing, like, I'd be definitely down for it. Like, hell yeah, if that was the master plan all along, please like show like let me be. I did not figure it out, and thank God Drew saw through it. But I do think it's an interesting moment for indeed in Warframe's time. Not that they're dying, because as you say, like the numbers are still the same, but I think it's interesting how people are speaking up about it, and how this thing is happening right now.
I think that it will be interesting to see what happens at the just before the shutdown, because they're doing a dev stream, which is really weird, on Wednesday the 16th of December at 11. Yeah, Wednesday the 16th of December at 11 a.m., which I imagine is just before they're shut down for the Christmas holidays. So it'll be very interesting to see what that's about. Quite possibly just, oh look, here's the next Warframe, and if that's the case, like, okay. Yeah. But the January, February time, I think is going to say a lot, and I think if they were to release the new war, a lot of the veteran player base at least will come back. How long they will stay for, though, is another question entirely, and I think that is a rocky mountain to climb.
I do
which
think
is why they're taking the safer bets.
I do think when it comes to like how long the player base will come back, is if you want to compare like new player, like how long the new player sticks around for their content updates, and like the veteran player sticks around for their content updates. I do think it's important to note that there's a difference in content updates. I think that like a Heart of Deimos offers a lot more time for you to spend in Deimos with all the bounties and stuff to do, whereas a quest kind of revolves around doing a quest, and unless like it's like the second dream, where the second dream unlocked like the focus system, which was like a brand new system. If the new war would unlock a new system sort of thing, where there's a lot of hours that you could pour into it, I think there's a high chance that veterans may stick around. But if it's, again, like sacrifice just a quest with maybe a few items that you can farm, but just a quest, there's a high chance that they would fall off, which I don't think is like a show of like interest in the game, or veterans like dropping earlier than new players. I think it's more of a, yeah, you get what you get for different types of content sort of thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I think I'm going to skip the next topic because we do have to be done by about 5 minutes time. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to post them up in chat right here. I will very while you guys are posting questions, I will very quickly just like go for like the headlines so like you kind of know. Basically, Amazon is introducing a new feature called Sidewalk on their Amazon Alexa devices, which will connect Alexa devices to nearby Wi-Fi networks, even those owned by someone else. So anyone owning an Alexa device will automatically be opted into Sidewalk. So basically, like if you have a device, it will just connect with other devices and then share like your network sort of thing, including smart speakers, home devices, and Ring doorbells to create a shared network which is meant to help devices work better. In essence, nearby devices will use a portion of the neighbor's Wi-Fi bandwidth, and so the device can have more range. People have been very concerned about not knowing what your device is connected to, because it's just connecting to each other sort of thing, especially with the opt-in method, which if you looked at like opt-in, like barely people will like opt out. It just turns the feature on for everyone, which could deeply be problematic for like a privacy perspective. And from Wednesday, as of Wednesday, Amazon has been rolling out Sidewalk in the US. So basically, your Alexa device, your doorbell could be a Wi-Fi router sort of thing. It will extend it to other devices, and it has done so since Wednesday. Without, well, probably notifying you in some way, but probably not notifying you enough because they'll just do the bare legal minimum so that you can just like not notice.
That is horrific. That is a huge security risk. That is like, oh my God, can you just imagine some corporation with one of these doorbells? And then like, can you just imagine Digital Extremes with one of these doorbells? And then like, I am evil hacker gamer. I walk up to the doorbell. I steal all your code because I'm on your network.
Yeah. Well, so like, Majoga asks, is bypasses password and security basically like the way that works, like for you to like have your Alexa device connected to the internet, like you already have it connected, and then that will share like its network that it gets with like other Alexa like Amazon devices nearby. So that let's say that I have really good internet and I have a neighbor who has also an Amazon doorbell who doesn't have great internet. My doorbell can share a bit of my internet with my neighbor so that his doorbell will also have a great internet, and that's the idea.
I feel that it's not. So there's one of two ways that this could be done. One, it proxies through the doorbell, right? But considering it works for so many devices, so if you have a doorbell, an Alexa, a speaker, a doorstop, a shower curtain, if you have all these devices, I bet bottom dollar what will actually happen is that one Alexa device will tell the other what the login security details
most likely,
are. Oh, this is the login details. Because if you actually use a Chromecast, you can get your phone talking to the Chromecast to tell the Chromecast what the details are, right? So I'll just share you the details. So it's easily doable. That's huge problem.
Yeah, and of course, like if you would have people like opt into it, that they could choose to do it. Like not a lot of people would do it, but that's why they're making it an opt-out thing, where it's like everyone will be signed in unless you want to sign out for it. But
that's bad.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that is it for the FrameCast this week. If you have any more further questions, please leave them in the comments of the video. That will be out in 24 hours on youtube.com/postma.games, and we'll cover it next week. If you want to see this beautiful man and want to hear more about this discussion that we had today, he had it more in depth as well with Laws on 10 o'clock, which will be live on youtube.com/10 o'clock. If you want to see more of his videos, go to youtube.com/Xeno where you can like probably not see his beautiful face, but you can see his beautiful Oberon, with which he makes Xeno codexes or arbiters, which are also beautiful videos. And he does do a vlog occasionally. I think it's been a while, but there you can see his beautiful face. So check him out over there. We will see you all next week. As always, this is like live streamed on Twitch like every Tuesday at like 6 p.m. 6 p.m. UK time? 7 p.m. European time. We'll probably do for this year 2 more FrameCasts, and then we're gonna go celebrate the holidays. So 2 more to go, and who knows, one might be a special one. We'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Drew, do you still want to say something?
Okay, thanks. Bye. No, I'm joking. It's we'll do more of this. If you guys actually have any suggestions on topics that you want us to cover, please feel free to leave them in the comments of the YouTube video, or quickly shove them in the Twitch chat, or throw them to us on Twitter. and we'll take a look. I mean, it was surprisingly a quiet week this week for all things gaming, news, reviews, and sorry, that was the wrong channel. And yeah, but let us know if there's anything you want to cover, and we'll talk about it soon. TM.
Definitely. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. You're gonna have to do it with like an entire week without us, because this time we will have 7 days between the next FrameCast. So
yeah,
we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Yeah.